We'll be right back. Welcome to another episode of the fraglluminati. This week we're going to talk about fragrance application. We'll be right back after a few seconds.
Trays on the track.
Hey, let that ride.
Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of fraglluminati. This week I'm your host, Be Easy. I have my esteemed guests. We got my man Rock, Lenny, and we have Dre coming in and out. He's out working, making runs right now. So go ahead and start the welcome with Mr. Rock over there in the corner.
What up, everybody? Don't talk about my Lions.
Mr. G, man, what's good? What's good, Mr.
I
G,
wasn't
man?
gonna say a thing about Detroit, man. All I was gonna say, what's up, everybody? First of all, what's up, everybody? I wasn't gonna say anything, but did y'all's team play? I know mine won. They weren't on a bye week.
Yeah, we slid. We slid by this week. It's all good with our backup quarterback.
Yeah, not every team did that, man.
I knew you was gonna say that. What's going on, Rock? Fight back, Rock, fight back.
Man, I ain't got nothing. I ain't got nothing.
Say, Bernie, look here, man. You gonna have Rock spraying about 40 sprays, man. Get his mind clear.
Oh,
Just because of the
Lord
game, man.
Jesus.
I'm glad
You got to bring it today, man.
Oh man.
I'm glad you brought that up. The reason why we're talking about that this week about application is that if you go around the frag community, you notice that there's a big debate about how many sprays. You have some that do 14, some that do 2 or 3, some that still do the rub with the wrist. It's all kinds of stuff. So what we're here to talk about now is how we apply our fragrances, so you can get a generalized idea on how to apply. Some people may say, well, what difference does it make? Depending on what you do at work, sometimes if you're wearing too much, it can be offensive. Some fragrances require you to wear more, some require you to wear less. So we're going to try to give you the best amount of information possible so that you can wear your fragrance to its ability so that it's not offensive, but it also comes off the way that you would like it to come off so that you can enjoy wearing your fragrance. So we're going to start from the top to the bottom, and the first person we're going to talk to is Rock. I think Rock has a little presentation of how he's going to break down his application.
Okay, well, before I get started, let Dre just join. Let Dre say hello to everybody. It don't look like your mic is on, so I just want to make sure that we can hear
There
you.
you go.
Yeah, I just had to make sure I turned it off when I came in.
Okay.
But what's
right.
happening, everybody? We in here again once again. One time for one time. I ain't got nothing to say.
What?
My man dropping bars over there. He dropping bars. He a part-time artist out there, man.
Had to make it a quick intro before I lose service again.
Okay.
All right, y'all. But me first. Basically, like Bernie said, when it comes to applying fragrances, the first thing that I hope that everybody is doing is washing their tail, right? So before we do anything, we're gonna make sure we putting these fragrances on a clean and moisturized body, right? So
Eric, you didn't say the tail, did you, man?
man, wash it. Get it clean, all up in the crevices and cracks and all of it, right? Don't miss a beat. Right? But yeah, you want to make sure you applying these fragrances on a clean body. You want to make sure that you moisturize well. Now, how you moisturize, that's completely up to you. Some people choose scented moisturizers. Some people choose unscented moisturizers, and that's completely up to you, depending on how well it meshes with the fragrance that you're using. Right? Me personally, and I know that everybody's going to say exactly how they apply fragrances differently, but it all depends on the type of fragrance that you're using. You have lighter fragrances that require more sprays to me, and you have mid-range uh, fragrances that I would just do like a normal spray routine. Then we have our beast mode fragrances that don't require that many that many sprays. Um, Now, beast mode, that is a fragrance that pretty much lasts all day or goes into the next day. Those are your Bois of Victoriouses, Michonets, um, your Spirit of Dubai. All of those have a reputation of having real beast mode fragrances and goes all day. Then you have your fragrances that don't last that long. And I hate to do this to you, Leonard, but Creed is one of those fragrances that, some of them last longer than the others, but you have some that you do have to apply to get that performance out of. Right. And so, Leonard, what do you do? How do you apply yours?
I'm glad you said that, Eric. Um, Eric is picking on my Creed, and I know what he's doing on the slide because he didn't. I don't think he mentioned any names of brands because I know he wasn't talking about McLeod Christian, so it had to be the Creed. So since he's talking about the Creed, yesterday I wore Creed Green Irish Tweed, and then I layered it with original Santalon.
Mm.
The first 2 hours, it was hitting.
Mhm.
4 hours after that, 5 hours after that, I got a whiff of it again out of the blue.
Wow.
So, what you may not know about Creed is not meant to project loudly. It's meant to lay low on you. But I think Eric used the word. What's that word you used that time for going nose blind?
Oh, anosmic.
Anosmic. I think that's what happened with those Creeds because you seem to lose the scent, but then hours later you pick it back up, or you can walk by and somebody will give you a compliment on the scent that you thought it already faded out. But I think what you said in the beginning about knowing the fragrance that you're applying, knowing what you want, like Bernie said, the atmosphere and environment you're in, being mindful of other people, all that's important. If you're spraying Middle Eastern fragrances that only require one or two, and I wore one last week that I sprayed 3 sprays, and as a Swiss Arabian, I sprayed 3 sprays and I almost choked for 6 hours. When in fact I should have, and I knew better, but I was so excited about being able to wear it because it's only a cool weather scent that I sprayed 3 sprays instead of the 2 that I normally spray, and that was too much. So I think you make a real good point, Eric. It depends on the fragrance you're applying, the atmosphere that Bernie's talking about, where you're going to and where you're in, and being mindful of other people around you. So I guess that's my answer, Eric.
That's what's up.
Dr. Dre, what's good? Talk to us, bro.
I just be spraying. I can't lie. I'm still be learning with a spray and all that, but I just be going crazy with it.
Regardless of the fragrance.
Dre
I
said
don't
he
care
be
what
letting
it
them
is.
have it. He said, I'm letting
I'm
them
going
have
for
it.
it, and then it's getting worse now because people are starting to hype me up to be the overspray guy. So I'm trying to work my way to overspraying, and it's getting cold. So yeah, I'm just going crazy. I don't care. I'm gonna moisturize, make sure I'm all washed up good, greased up good, and all that. And then I'm just going crazy. I might I might come out there with about 42 sprays or something. Who knows? And if I
When
choke
do you
somebody out,
know?
I don't care.
when do you stop though? Like when you're, because you saying you're overspraying now. So when do you stop? Like when?
Oh, yeah, I'm not necessarily at the overspray point yet though. Like I'm
Mm,
trying, but I'm not there. Like I'm at a smooth max, probably about 10 sprays, depending on what it is. But if it's something like extremely strong, yeah, I can do about 4 at
okay.
most.
Dre the
Well,
Exterminator.
yeah, that's
I
new.
mean,
He
and then I'm
he
on the
never
road.
was a
Y'all
heavy
gotta remember
sprayer.
too. I'm on the road too, so I'm also trying not to be the stank trucker. There's a lot of them out here, so I'm like, I gotta make sure when I walk into somewhere, the cashiers appreciate me for not coming up there smelling like, you know, raw. I forgot this PG. I'm not smelling unshowered.
Got
We hope you're
you.
not smelling unshowered, Dre. We really do. Thanks. Hope you're not smelling unshowered.
There's another phrase I want to use for that, but we can't say that on the show because, you know. But
Mhm.
PG.
unshowered is a nice way to put it. Yeah, the unshowered is a nice way to put it. The raw spoiled milk that's been left out in the sun.
Mhm. Mhm.
Okay, so
Well, oh, okay. I thought you was about to say something. My application is different because my application is different because I smoke. So where I might wear traditionally maybe 4 with a middle to strong, a weaker one I may do like 6. I have a tendency to spray more because of the fact that I smoke. So I think with the Middle Eastern fragrances that I currently have, only one of them is really strong. I may do 4 of those, but typically I usually do 6 to yeah, probably like 6 or more based off of where I'm going. If I'm going to work, then I have a certain number that I use, and if I'm going out because I'm out in the open area, I have a tendency to use more. And sometimes I keep a decant or something on me, so when I go to the bathroom and wash up, I go ahead and reapply it to make sure that the smoke is not kind of like offending people that I'm around.
So where do you spray?
Ah, that was the part I was gonna get to. Um,
Okay, well I guess I jumped the gun.
no. That's a great point. I do post point because I'm in the medical field, so I kind of understand the benefit of using post points than just using it on other areas. That's where the blood is flowing and it's the closest to the surface, causes a lot more heat. So let's say I'm working in the fire EMS system. So as I'm doing stuff, using post points, it causes it to do what you were talking about with the creed. You may have the opening, then it dries down. Then when I start getting active, because I hit the post points, then it start projecting again. Not offensive, but you start feeling it pick back up some. So I do the carotid. I do 3 across the chest, one on the radio, and one on the radio and one on
you said one
my
on the
AC.
where? The radio.
Those post points, like radio pulse, carotid pulse, the
Oh, you
anacubical
using
pulse.
terms we never heard of. That's why I'm so confused.
Right.
Well,
I'm
I'm
like
going
the
to the
radio. I mean,
carotid is your carotid, right here, your
uh-huh.
neck.
The
I'm like, I
artery,
forgot
yeah.
karate.
The radio is your wrist, and your anacubical is right here.
Okay.
So what I do is I hit those points. I haven't did the legs, but those are the points I usually hit: 3 across the chest, one on each pulse here, one on each wrist, and one on each AC. And that's what I do.
And that's about 6.
Mhm.
Team.
Is there times you go more than that?
Mhm. Yeah, it's
And when
times
you
I
when
do.
you using that example, when you go more than 6, say for example
Mhm.
you apply 8, where do you put the other 2?
Ah, um, it picks back up from our other episode with the layering. What I do, and I'm just saying, and I don't know if y'all do it. I actually spray it in my lotion as I apply it. So what happens is I
Okay.
hit my post point, then it absorb, then I get the lotion, one hit, as I do my extremity. That's it. So after I come out the shower, I'm still somewhat wet. So I go ahead and hit the post point. I have a ceiling fan running to kind of dry down naturally. I have the lotion, put it in my hand, one hit, extremities, next hit, torso, next hit, lower extremities, and then I get a sense of how it's coming off. If it's not coming off enough, bam, bam. If it's indecent, then I just leave it alone and put the decant in my pocket.
Well, let me ask you this, since
Mhm.
we're on that. When you shave in the morning, do you apply any? Do you use aftershave? That's number
Nope.
one. Okay, because I don't use aftershave. What do you do? Do you put anything around your facial or your neck, anything like that?
I just pretty much stay with the neck because I have real sensitive skin, so I have to use clippers
Okay.
and I have to use this certain type of cream because I break out real bad. So once I do that, I have like a 60-40 combination of alcohol with peroxide that I use for my skin. Then I come back over top of it with sensitive Noxzema to tighten my pores back up. Because I think you use the military too to tighten my pores up. But that was the problem when I had a shaving profile, the ingrown hairs. My pores will open up, then the hair will grow back in, and that's what caused me to start having all those bumps. So the Noxzema tightened my skin back up before I go out.
Well, that's a good point to make, and I'm glad you mentioned that. The part about sensitive skin, man, because some people may have that, may be watching the show, may have that same issue, and that way you did address on how to cover it for people that have sensitive skin and ingrown hairs. So I'm glad you brought that up, man.
Yeah, because we have a shaving profile for the fire department now, so we have to shave so we can wear our face piece. So the only thing I can use is clippers. And if I use any kind of razor, it's a wrap. I can use it on my head, but I can't use a razor nowhere on my face. If I do, I'm done for like about 3 weeks.
No, well, do you apply anything? Because I'm bald too, just like you. Do you, and not by choice, nature did that for me. But do you, and don't laugh, Dre. I used to have more hair than you have now, so keep living, brother.
I just started.
You just started? Okay. But Bernie,
Oh,
do you,
I seen
after
that
you,
picture. I'm gonna look for that picture and post it. This
Uh-oh.
brother
Yeah,
was
I have
part
some.
of Switch. He used to be
Yeah.
he was a missing singer in Switch.
And had I known I was gonna lose all of it, I'd have bagged some of it up and put it in the freezer for days like this, man. But do you
You gonna
do
What's
use
up?
anything
that?
with your do you do anything with your head as far as moisturizer and fragrances on your head?
I forgot the name of it. It's this company that make that. It was only company only. I'm gonna get it and then we'll post it later. It's a certain type of cream that I use for my head because of the sensitive skin. I was worried about my dome, and it has shea butter and coconut butter and some other ingredients, and that's what I use for my head. So I put it on, shave it off, then I use the 60-40 alcohol peroxide mix I told you about, and go over my head and my face, and that's it. I can't
But
use the
no
stuff everybody else uses.
no scent, because I know I'll do it like a moisturizer, and then if I'm wearing a fragrance that day, I'll spray, because I wear a lot of hat. I'll spray a
Hmm
couple of sprays on top of my head, and then I'll put my hat on, because throughout the day you may start to sweat, your head may
Oh,
start to sweat.
it's
And
just us
so,
in here, so let me look. What I do is, remember I told you I do that breakdown? That's what I do with my head. Remember I told you one hit with the lotion?
right,
After I do everything, I have residue. I'll go ahead and put it on
the
the
scent.
head.
Okay,
Yeah,
lotion is
yeah, yeah,
scented.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
got
yeah,
you. I got
yeah.
you.
Yeah, I
No,
be
yeah.
trying to snatch souls out here. I be trying to snatch souls.
Now
So
what
when I start sweating, they feel it too. When I start sweating.
now
PG,
what I
man,
would
PG.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Rob. Go
what
ahead,
I would
Rob.
use is I use like a beard oil or beard
I'm
cream.
glad you brought that up because a
Right.
lot of people
And
wearing beards.
sometimes those are scented as well, right? And you
I got something
blend
to
that
ask you.
in
Go
there.
ahead and keep going. I get something I got to ask you about that, but go ahead and keep going.
Right. That I blend that in there as well. So when you moisturize, you do that. But I also wanted to go back to what Bernie was saying as far as when he applies his fragrances and this, that, and the other. And my routine is after, a clean body, of course, and moisturized body, right? If I'm wearing a fragrance like this, which is Creed's Scented
Nice.
Mountain Water, right?
Yeah, they
Now
don't
this,
last long, right?
right. Well, on
That
my
one do.
skin, this is on my skin. This is about a 5-hour fragrance before I have to reapply, right?
Yeah.
And so with my spray routine on this one is just like what Bernie said. It he does this part, I do the back. So I do
He did say that.
right. I do back here, elbow, elbow, wrist, and then shirt. So I do 8
Hmm.
sprays when it comes to that particular with this type of particular fragrance, right? And so now, if I'm wearing a fragrance like this, which is the Harmonious Moon Glory, now this one is a pretty much an 8-hour fragrance, right? So with this one,
Glad you
hush,
finally admitted it.
huh?
I'm glad you finally admitted it.
You hear me stopping before he even got started,
Get him, yeah, Dre.
right? So,
How many hours did he say, Dre?
No, he said originally it was 2. He stopped smelling it. Get
right.
out of here, liar.
Okay. Now with this one, I'm gonna typically do my 6 sprays, which is everything that I said minus the shirt. It doesn't need to go on the shirt at that point. And then, like you said, throughout the day, you get those whiffs, and then you go from there. Right now, for fragrance like this one, this is an all-day fragrance. This is Louis Vuitton's Ombre Nomade, right? This is an all-day fragrance, right? And what I will do with this one is one back here, and then probably one right here, and then I'm done. If it's an extremely cold day, one right here. If it's just like a lukewarm day, just those 2, and I'm done. Because this one will choke you out real quickly. And this is in the same category as fragrances like Portrait of a Lady. Um, I want to say Naxos, but Naxos I can get away with more sprays. But Portrait of a Lady, Crush on Me, help me out with some more beast mode fragrances that you only need 2 sprays because they will choke you out quickly. And those are that's my spray routine with beast mode fragrances.
The question I wanted to ask you is I seen some guys on beer posts that they literally take 2 hits of their fragrance and run it through their beard. And when you mentioned that, I wanted to ask you, do you do that?
I stopped doing that. And the reason
Okay.
why I stopped doing that is because I would become nose blind to the fragrance, right? Another reason why I stopped spraying the front of my neck, I would become nose blind to the fragrance where I couldn't smell it. And the thing about being nose blind to a fragrance is that everybody else can smell you. You're the only person that can't smell you, right? And so what the trap that we all fall into is that we continue to start spraying because we think our fragrance ran out, right? And then we don't know we're choking everybody out. So,
Dr.
Dre
Dre,
says
talk to
no.
us, man.
Dre saying no problem with that.
Dre trying to get into Bob Backlund.
Yeah, I want you to know I'm here. I want you to know I showed up. As soon as I walk in, you know who it is. It's me.
Dre said
Man,
everybody goes around. Dre said everybody goes around has sinus problem.
all right.
Yeah,
Now, I want to ask y'all something. And Dre brought something up, a good point. Some people want their fragrance to be announced, and some people like their fragrance to be discovered. So through the fraglluminati, Dre already done said what his position was. Where are you stand at with that rock and lemon? Do you want to be announced or do you want it to be discovered?
I guess I'm going to be announced because I guess everywhere I go, folks already know me as the fragrance guy. So especially at work, the first thing they want to know is what I'm wearing. And so and I wanted to just be like, oh, you smell good, as opposed to, yeah, we knew you were coming through the door, right? And so I guess it's just a blend of both depending on what I'm wearing. I typically like to allow the fragrance to do what it's supposed to do. Like Leonard said earlier, if the fragrance is supposed to be like it's supposed to be a skin scent that's supposed to be intimate, I allow it to be an intimate scent, right? But if it's one of those that you want to be, notice and this, that, and the other, then yeah, you do.
What about? No, go ahead, Rock. Go ahead.
No, that was it. That's all I had to say.
What about you, G?
I'm one of these. The last thing I think I want to be noticed is for my fragrance. I want the attention to go on my attire, the way I look, the way I carry myself, and then the fragrance to be the compliment. And so by being that, I'd rather somebody say, hey, those are nice shoes. I like that jacket. I like A, B, C, and D. And by the way, dang, you smell good.
Okay.
So, to me, and you guys have seen my post, and I post, frags, and I've always done this, my frags with my shoes and sometimes my outfit, because for me, it all goes together. Like Dre said at one time, he said, if you smelling good, walking around looking ragged, and then wonder why you're not getting any phone numbers or any kind of attention, it's more than just smelling good. So to me, I look at fragrances as a compliment to everything else that goes along with my appearance. So I don't necessarily have to be announced. If I walk by, then and you get a whiff of what I'm wearing, then that's great. But if not, my confidence level is where I know I'm looking good, I know I'm dressing good, I know I'm smelling good. If you acknowledge it, fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Hence why I buy a lot of Creed. Not calling any names, but hence why I buy Creed, because it lays low. To me, it's one of those, you can wear those year round, and they're not blatant fragrances that stand out. Not to say I don't have some of those, I do, but it all depends on what I'm wearing. Now, when I spray, like Rock does, I spray at the back of my neck, I spray at the back of my elbows, right here and right here. I spray sometimes, like I said, I spray the top of my head if I'm wearing a hat, but I may spray on my chest, and then if I'm wearing short pants, I'll spray on both my calves. And for me, when I walk by, I want the scent to linger and for people to get the scent as I pass by, not before I approach them. So that's why I spray those points to where you'll smell it after I'm gone rather than before I get there.
Yeah, see,
Dre,
for me, I got to be
that's why
announced because I'm dusty most of the time. So I'm not wearing my good clothes out on the road. So when you see me, I'll probably have a hole in my shirt. I'm going to have the dirtiest shoes you ever seen in your life.
I don't believe that.
Yeah,
Dre,
I don't believe that.
But Dre,
Hold
with
on,
the type of with the line of work you have, what are the challenges you have with application? Because you can be in one area 1 minute and then in another area the next.
I don't have any. Because most of the time I'm just in the truck. So I'm just smelling myself anyway.
Got you.
I'm not really seeing too many people like that. Like, you have to go I might go to the truck stop maybe once or twice a day and see 14 people, and that'd be about it.
Okay, now we do got a question from I got food stamps, and his question was can the weather temperature of certain seasons affect how potent the smell of the fragrance on your body? Example, applying more in the summer heat than the winter cold. Anybody want to tackle that one?
I guess we all can.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I'll say this. It comes down to your knowledge of your fragrances, number one. What you would wear in the winter months, you probably wouldn't wear in the summer months. So if you're wearing your ouds, you're wearing your heavy leathers, you're wearing your wood-based fragrances deep, you don't want to wear those in the summertime because they would be too much for you. Those are more applied toward the winter months. So knowing what you're applying and the climate that you're in, that's what makes the difference on how much you wear, whether it wears down or whether it wears off. If you wear a spring scent in the wintertime, it's not gonna stand the test very long.
But if I can add on to what Leonard is saying, and Leonard is 100% correct. But as we saw in this past summer, a lot of people had gotten to the habit. I mean, got into this rut where they were, I guess, bored with their summer scents and wanted to try more of their winter scents because they're a little bit more focused. My philosophy on that is just what you would normally, if you just, because these are your fragrances, you wear them when you want to wear them. If you would normally, if it's a fragrance that you would normally wear in the wintertime, and it's a fragrance that you would normally apply 6 to 8 fragrances in the wintertime, cut those sprays in half if you wear them out of season. And if you are wearing a heavier, I mean, if you're wearing a lighter scent in the wintertime, add more sprays. Right. So, yeah.
So it's like a
One,
formula. You have to develop your own formula, is what Rock's saying, right?
Right.
another thing I found, like to piggyback on what you're talking about with the question, is humidity. Humidity was challenging for me when it comes to wearing fragrances because you start sweating and you lose it, and now it's this battle of reapplication with the humidity and stuff like that, and it's rough. So just like G said, you really have to know your fragrance. And like when I travel, I try my best to kind of get a generalized idea of what the weather's going to be. And
I do
I would
too.
have and you had a wide range of fragrances, so whatever happens, you'll be cool. The thing that's very challenging for me is humidity. It's hard. You can be nice, and then as soon as you go outside, it's like 90. Like in DC, it's like 92, but it feel like it's 100. And with all that humidity, by the time you get to the car, you sweating and all of that. So all of the work you put in to try to get yourself together, you kind of lose it. So that's one of the things I found that was a big challenge is when it's really, really hot. Dry heat, not as much, but the humidity in our area is rough.
It's the same way here too. And I know in Alabama, I know for a fact it is the same human in Alabama too.
Colorado, we don't have that issue with humidity as much as you guys got in in those eastern states. Now, back home in Michigan, we're very humid, right? And so I know exactly what you're talking about.
Really?
Now, this is a question I got, Rob. When you remember you talking about clothes, some people spray clothes, some people don't spray clothes. So Dre, G, and E already talked about it. Talk to us about, do you actually spray clothes or not when it comes to the application?
It depends on the fragrance, and it depends on the fragrance, and it depends on the fragrance for a couple of reasons. If it's a colored fragrance where it's going to stain your clothes, I don't spray it at all. Right now, if it's a lighter fragrance where I need that extra spray to for it to project, then I'll spray the clothes as long as I know that it's not going to stain my clothes. Right now, another thing when you're dealing with fragrances that have oud in it, right? If you spray your clothes, when you come back from the dry cleaner, that shirt come back from the dry cleaner, you're still going to smell that oud, right? And it's going to come out. It's going to come out as if they didn't clean the shirt, or it's going to smell like that they wore the shirt and they got it funky. But no, that's the oud still left in your shirt. You got to wash it again. So yeah, so you have to be careful when it comes to stuff like that, right?
Now, G, you wear a lot of suits and stuff, so I know you're very particular about how you apply, if you apply on your own clothing.
I have and I do, but it depends. I'll put it on some shirts, but as far as the suits, I'm real cautious. Some of the lighter fragrances that they're not real strong. I will spray sometimes with my clothes. If I might spray a pants leg at the bottom of pants leg toward the bottom of my almost top of my heel. I have done that, but those have been with different type of fragrances, meaning that I don't have a problem with Creed doing that, but there's no way in the world I would do a Clive Christian because it's the same as those oud fragrances. You can put it on your body, and 2 days later you're gonna still be smelling Clive Christian. So I'm real particular about which ones I spray on my clothing and which ones I don't. So yeah, I do.
I'm trying to wait for Dre to come back because usually he pop right back in.
No, while we're waiting, I got Food Stamps has another question. He wants to know, do we reapply during the day, and do we wear fragrances to bed at night?
Food Stamps getting kind of deep now. You get deep in our business.
I
now.
mean, he be having the best questions. I mean,
I
for
know that was
real.
good ones. That was good.
He has the best questions. I love his input. But yeah, to answer his questions, if the fragrance needs it, then I reapply. We talked about it last week when we talked about traveling with fragrances. I do take my fragrances with me, but that doesn't mean I reapply automatically. I only reapply if I need it. Now, and if in the middle of the day, if someone is still telling me they smell my fragrances, then I don't reapply. Now, typically when I go home and I start, the second part of the day, I might, after I shower, put on another fragrance. So chances are I don't. But if it's a weak fragrance, yeah, I'm reapplying.
Forget you. Forget you talking about if it's a weak fragrance. That's some good juice you got over there, bro.
Tell him again, Bernie. Tell him
That's
again.
some good juice.
I'm not. It's trust me. I've learned to appreciate this. But at the same time, I mean, I do need to reapply it.
Food Stamps, I reapply, and yes, I do wear it to bed. And it's
I do too.
PG-13, so we leave it there. So I do wear fragrances to bed.
I wear them to bed too. I do, but I don't wear my best stuff to bed. I'm gonna say that.
Do you wear fragrances to bed, and do you reapply?
Absolutely. I wear them at all times of the day. And I don't care what it is. As a matter of fact, the one I'm most famous for putting on at night in the bed is Rosa Hall Up.
Okay.
Boy, you ought to sleep good then, spending that kind of money to go to sleep.
You know the fragrances I wear to bed. That's when I experiment with my samples. When the decants and stuff that I got, that's when I experiment with those. Because I mean, other than that, I don't have time to wear them. So when I have those are the ones I wear to bed.
Now, Mo Better Fumes.
I like that name. Man, they got some nice names.
Yeah, Mo Better Fumes. I find that heavier fragrances like amber, woods, ouds, vanillas, leather, they cut through the cold air better than opposed by the lighter scents, and I believe that's true too.
And I think y'all covered that. It depends on the type of notes and you really knowing the fragrance, and that's one of the things I enjoy watching Dre and Rock go back and forth in chat. The knowledge base on the different types of fragrances, so you can kind of get your mind around if you should invest, and then if you do, when you will wear it. So those when they have those conversations, I'm really looking heavy because, like Better Sense was saying, certain notes do perform better in the winter than they do during the summer. If you wear some of that stuff during the summer, they probably run you up out of there. If it don't choke you out like Rock said.
Well, folks will give ask our advice on. They'll give us two different fragrances. Like, should I buy this or should I buy that first? And then depending on those two fragrances, those two fragrances can be worn in two different seasons. And we'll tell them to wear the one that's buy the one that's in the current season first, because you're not going to be able to wear the other one until it either gets colder or warmer. So, yeah, and we do that amongst ourselves too. When we like, okay, well, we're going to wait to buy this because I can't wear it now anyway. So, you're right. So we do that quite a bit. I got
some good questions today, man.
Yeah, I got
a question.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Rock.
Yeah, I got a question. Okay, so let's tell the people what we should not do when it comes to applying fragrances. What are the myths and what are the bad habits that people are getting into that they shouldn't do?
I'll say overspraying. And when I say overspray, they're just spraying not knowledgeable on what kind of results they're gonna get out of the spray. They use a fresh scent. They spray 6-8 times. Then they get an ooze spray the same 6-8 times, and they find out you can't apply this in the same manner. So I think sometimes people do that by not knowing that all fragrances are not the same. And you can't apply them in the same manner.
Exactly. And one of the practices that I learned from another influencer or fragrance reviewer is that when you first get these fragrances, wear them at home first, right?
Yeah.
So you can see how they're going to perform before you go out in public. So if you wear them at home and you overspray that day, when you actually wear it out, you know not to apply that much. Not you know not to apply as much, right?
What I've noticed is that is the two extremes. Not enough, too much.
Too much. Yeah.
What bothers me is sometimes people will have a fragrance. Oh, it's weak and it don't perform and da 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 da. And they might have 1 or 2 sprays and that's it. Then we know it's a few online. Man, they damn near use half a bottle. Like, they get down like 20-something sprays and keep spraying because they want to be announced before they get there. They want to fill the room. Then they want to fill you when you leave. The best thing to do that everyone from the panel was talking about, test those fragrances in the house first. Test them out. Especially what I like to do is test it in the house. And if I like it, I go run an errand or something. Or I'm going to go run to the store or something. And what I'm doing is I'm observing how this fragrance is performing. Am I getting compliments or not? Which means, we're not big on compliments or whatever. If we get them, we get them. But I'm evaluating the scent then. And I say, you know what? This would be a good scent if I'm doing a rooftop event. This may be a good scent like if I'm going to church or to a meeting. I'm glad to see that I was able to test it in the house. Now I'm doing a trial run, just running errands because you're not really caring. And then after that, I can put it in certain categories knowing when it would be more appropriate.
When and where I'm going to wear it.
Yep. Yeah, have your minimum, and then you just go from there. But just like they were saying, some of them ouds and some of these other fragrances, like I got rose oud and a few other joints. I wish I would do over 2 sprays. I mean, it's a wrap. But if I didn't test them in the house, you know what I'm saying? I'd rather test in the house than go out in the streets and then you find out the wrong way. You know what I mean?
And Portrait of a Lady, I'm only hitting 1 time. Unless it's like 0 degrees outside. If I'm wearing Portrait of a Lady, that's only a 1 sprayer.
Hey, Dre, what are some of the things you're running across that you're seeing people have problems with application? Can you hear me? No, he probably can't hear me.
Can you hear us, Dre? Okay, what about this, y'all? When y'all apply y'all fragrance, do y'all do that? Is that a good idea? Is that a good practice?
No.
Right.
I had to stop my daughter, man.
Right.
She up in Neiman Marcus. That's what you doing.
Right.
I had to pop her in. That's what you doing. You destroying the fragrance. What you need? I'm trying to get us. No. That's a good one that you brought up. A lot of people.
But do that. But you know why that came about? That used to be a method that they would use years ago. And what they've learned to discover is that because there's a note breakdown in that fragrance and there's different levels. So if you're doing this, then you're mixing all those levels up and your top notes are mixing and they're not performing as it should. So I think that's why it's bad, because you're diluting the different levels when the bass note shouldn't be at the top, because that's going to be a prominent note in the end when it dries down. So you're confusing everything and mixing everything up by doing that. Now, Natasha made a good point when you asked the question, what are some of the things you shouldn't do? Natasha made a good point. You shouldn't spray your private parts. And that's a fact.
Nah, yeah.
Because it could, it could burn you, could
It
you
can be
know,
very
create some
Can
problems.
I
Yeah.
intervene for a second? Now, this is for the people who tune in. This is what I do when I know I have some evening entertainment. I may
Get
I
them
spray the
thighs.
I spray the abdomen, maybe, certain areas so that's a treat for them when they're in that area. So, we keeping it PG, shoulder, ab, and then we're gonna keep it at that point. I don't do the private parts, but I do it in areas that as they're going through their travels, if you will, they get a
Wow.
treat. Yeah, they get a treat too. That's for tuning in and supporting the Frag Illuminati. We giving you those gems. Let me
Exactly.
know how it worked for you. Just reach out
This
and
is what
email us and let us know.
for me, that's what body sprays are for.
Hmm. Hmm.
Okay.
So because I use body sprays, and I'm gonna put a plug in real quick.
Uh-oh.
Y'all see these?
Uh-oh. Ah, okay.
Leonard then went shopping.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
yeah. He messed around. He learned
Hey,
it too, huh? He said
come
Right.
on.
he's picking
Leonard
up
then
some
went
tips.
shopping.
Shoot, man, look here. Hey,
Okay, okay.
Natasha did a show about layering with Eric. And so I'd be foolish not to consider it. Now, on the other hand, on the BFA, they got a coupon site. And on that coupon page, they had a sale going on at BBW. Is it BBW? You get these
That
things like
right.
8
$5.
ounces for like $5 and something now.
Oh
So I
wow.
picked up about 5 of them that were in stock. They had more, but I didn't want to pay for the shipping. So I'm going to try these out and see how that works.
I'm gonna start paying attention to that coupon page because when I go, I just go ahead and get the get the 3 for 2. Right, when you buy 3, you only paying for 2. I didn't know there was a better deal than that.
Yeah. Because I
Yeah,
think these things like $12 to $15, I believe.
they are.
Mm-hmm.
They're like
Yeah.
$16. They're not cheap.
But
They're
that,
not
Oh,
that
what I
cheap.
came
coupon's
back
on
to.
for the day.
What you say, Dre?
I have no idea what I just came back to.
Somebody was saying something about spraying their private parts
Yeah, I
when they're
heard
doing the
that, and then
application.
I see he out here going to the bath and working place. What's happening right now?
Somebody asked a good question. I have to admit, I love being with my brothers, but one of the favorite part of the show is the comments and the questions that you ask and the interaction. It really makes the show. That's the part I love the most because a lot of the questions you're asking are very good,
Oh
and I
yeah,
like the
our
interaction.
we have the best guests. We do. We do.
Mm-hmm.
We have the best people that support us, and I love them. I love them dearly.
Now,
Another so
Anton,
I know.
another another spraying myth or whatever that people do. I want to know if you guys think that this is a do or don't, where they spray the fragrance and walk into it. Are we doing that?
Eric, I spray too
Who?
much. I spent too much money for my frags and put it in the air. I put it on me. If I need to smell it, I'll do this.
Mhm.
But I'm not
Mm-hmm.
gonna spray it in the air and then walk into it. I spray it on me and then smell myself. But to me, if you're
Mm-hmm.
spraying in the air, you're wasting your fragrances.
Yeah.
Okay,
That's just me.
so
I was say, yeah, that's nuts.
that's not how we're applying our fragrances, right?
No.
Not me.
Okay.
Mm-mm.
I don't.
No
I don't
spraying in the
even do that.
air and no rubbing.
Well, and read Anton's comment. Can you see his comment?
Parfum aroma fragrances can be rubbed together due to their high oil content.
Yeah.
I don't own any
No,
parfum aroma, so I can't speak to that. But
Mm-hmm.
how do y'all feel about it?
I
That's
don't know.
one.
I've
I
never
mean,
heard of it.
yeah,
Me either.
Anton, man, he's pretty knowledgeable, and so if he says it, it probably is true. But like you guys, I don't own it either, so I can't say either way whether it's a factual or whether it's not. I'm gonna take his word for it because I trust his judgment.
I never did it because with designer maybe it's not that important, but when you're dealing with the niche and the way that I watched a editorial about how they make it and why they do it the way they do. and why it's important for it to let it dry so it can go through its pores. All up until that time, I never knew. Now, when he mentioned if I ever get one, I'll do that. But what got me out of doing the rubbing thing was when I saw the perfumers making the perfume. It was on YouTube or something. They was talking about the person who was designing saying not to do it because it's disturbing the compound and how it transitions. That once you rub together, now it's the beginning and end, and that's it. And then the longevity doesn't last as long. But what he's talking about is a higher concentration, so it probably would be something completely different.
Yeah, Mo Better Fumes asked, do we use alcohols to layer with your fragrances? I hadn't purchased any. A lot of times because they're more costly than fragrances, and you'd have to know what you're getting to spend that kind of money. I know they have some out there that are not as expensive, but for the most part, they're more expensive than the regular bottles that you would get that's not an oil base. So I guess to answer your question, I don't do it because I don't have any oils. I have a fragrance that contains it to a large degree, but I don't have it just the oil itself.
Me either. What about you, Rock?
I don't even know what they are, to be honest with you. This is my first time hearing about it, and I probably will be Googling it after the show to find it, just to educate myself to it. But I actually don't know what they are. Now, one thing I did want to ask about, and we talked about this on a previous show, but when it comes to applying fragrances is relevant, is Molecule 01 and or ambroxan. Are we using those?
I haven't yet. I came close. Mondale was talking to me about it. I came close, but I haven't yet.
I haven't used it yet either.
That's a no for me.
I mean, I guess when you get, and I hope I don't sound snobbish when I say this, but when you get into the point where you're spending as much money as we're spending on these fragrances, I mean, I want them to perform. I want to experience them as they are, and I don't want to, whether it's weak, strong, weak, or whatever. I want to experience them as they are. I don't want to give them any steroids, which what Molecule 1 seems to be, is something that's supposed to beast mode your fragrance up. So, but it is another option for folks that has fragrances that they don't, that doesn't perform to their liking, and they want to boost it up again some more. In addition to layering, they can use Molecule 1.
What you say about Creed?
I wouldn't use it on Creed either, but I wouldn't use it on Creed either.
Right. Hey, Rob.
What up,
Escovedo did his team win today.
Oh Lord!
Avio, did you hear that? You hear him talking?
Ask him if his team won, man.
You hear that? You hear that, Avio? He's still talking. He's still talking. Now, Avio, what I do want you to do, explain what you mean when you say, "Oh, okay." Never mind. I thought it said bowl sprayer. You said you're asking ball sprayer. Never mind. I know what you're saying. So
yeah. He's talking about your man.
Right. Yeah, but from
what's the question from Kevin Williams?
Yeah, from what I heard, Kevin, with Molecule 1, because as we say, we don't use it. But from what I've heard from other people's state, they spray it before their fragrance. And anybody that use it that know for sure, they can correct us. But But from what I heard, folks apply Molecule 1 first.
Yeah. Then the fragrance. Yeah. That's the way I've seen it.
Yeah.
We got any more questions?
Yeah, Mo Better Fumes.
I
is
like that
explaining
name,
the
man.
atto oils. Yeah, they're highly concentrated oils, and they're of a thicker consistency that are meant to be applied at price points
Mm-hmm.
and rubbed in. And normally, when you see those are normally around 1 ounce bottles, and sometimes less. But the costs on those, they're costly.
That's probably a real high concentration, high as hell.
It
Real high
really is.
concentration.
It's yeah, it really is. It's more
Now,
like an oil,
I do want to
scented
go
oil.
back to I got food stamps question when he asked us, do we spray again during the day? Right.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, there are certain instances that I do, but another instance where I won't is when I just want to enjoy the dry down of the fragrance. I don't want to bring back the opening or have the opening mixed with the dry down. That's when I won't spray again. If I'm enjoying the dry down of a fragrance and the opening is completely different, then yeah, I won't spray again during that day.
Hey,
Or
Food stamp.
let,
Go ahead.
let me ask you a question, man.
Mm-hmm.
Have y'all ever experienced this? You go to apply a fragrance and you spray it a couple times, really can't spray, you can't smell it. So you apply 2 or 3 more sprays, and once it starts drying down, it becomes really bold, and you've discovered you've oversprayed, because
I have
sometimes some
two
fragrances
like that.
they develop later, and they're weak in the beginning, but they develop later, and once they develop, you find that they're too strong and you've oversprayed. So I've experienced that when I think when we were talking earlier about how to apply fragrances and how many sprays. I think that has a factor in too. Like Eric said, get to know your fragrances, sample it, use your samples to find out what it actually does and how it performs before you go out in the world with it. Because you know you get you spray and you're not really loud when you leave home, but by the time you get where you are, you got the whole place smelt up. So
And what happens to me is it's my sinuses. I can smell
Mm-hmm.
fragrances better in the afternoon than I can in the morning, right? So I since I've learned that, I've taken that into consideration when I'm spraying, right? So I know when I'm spraying that, okay, I can't smell it right now, but I know after lunch it's going to be loud, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so and that's happened where I sprayed where, okay, at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I'm like, okay, I'm not smelling this. And then as my nose starts to open up during the day around 10 or 11, if I haven't given up, because a lot of times before I've learned that that's what was going on, before I learned that I was having those type of sinus issues, I would spray at 7 o'clock and then be like, and then 8 o'clock, I would spray again, right? Because I'm thinking that I wasn't smelling. And then I realized, and that's when, as the day got, and then maybe it's the Colorado weather, the humidity or whatever. But as the day went on, my nose opened up and I could smell better in the afternoon. And I
yeah,
know that
Dre.
I apply differently because of that.
Yeah, Dre said he's getting bad service, so he's in the comment section.
Mm.
Okay.
Now let
All
me
right.
ask this question, and I'm not getting on a different topic, but and Eric, you brought up your allergies. Are your allergies sometimes worse with designers versus niche brands, or is there a difference?
I haven't paid that part of it any attention. It hasn't. I mean, if it has, I haven't distinguished that, and it could be because me personally, I have to actually force myself to wear a designer, and the reason being is because I like to talk about my fragrances. So if someone comes to me and asks me what I'm wearing, and if it's something that they've never heard of, it sparks a conversation. right? And so, but if I'm wearing Dior Sauvage and they say, "Oh, that smells good," and you say Dior Sauvage, the conversation is over. So, so
Well, not saying the Dior Sauvage is a bad fragrance. That's just not
no, it's just not a
your cup of
conversation
tea.
starter,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. And why would you say that?
Because everybody knows about Dior Sauvage. So if you say, "Oh, I'm wearing this Dior Sauvage," chances are she knows, or somebody knows someone that has worn Dior Sauvage, or they know about the fragrance. They know where they can purchase it. They know how much it costs. There's nothing else to talk about.
Okay.
Right.
Because I know I'm gonna be honest, man. I've got a couple of designers left in my supply inventory, but I sprayed some on the other day, about 2 weeks ago, and just sprayed it on, man. And my sinuses just cut completely up all day long, man.
Really?
And it was,
Wow.
I mean, I like the fragrance. I still have it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think when you transition away, it's just something different with the niche brands that I have that they are so much smoother. And I don't know, because the breakdown, I don't know what it is, but my allergies just start cutting up with the designer, man.
I've never paid that portion of it any attention. I mean, I will look out for it from. I mean, it's another one of those things I take in consideration now, but I've never paid paid attention to a point whether or not it's designer versus niche as of yet. But chances are with me, I'm probably wearing a designer once a month, so I wouldn't be able to tell anyway.
What I did notice between designer versus niche is that the higher alcohol content in designer used to burn my skin.
Really?
Now I did notice that. So when I would apply designer, I wouldn't apply as much as I probably would with a niche. A niche, I never had that issue, but I just have real sensitive skin. But that's what I had noticed. You know, so that's why I kind of have a tendency to wear it at work. You know what I mean? And then I almost got to the point I don't even wear design at work anymore because because the pores open, you get that burn, and I'm like, shit, what's going on? It's burning. You get past that, then I'm good. With niche, I never had that problem ever. So I don't know. What I read is one had higher alcohol concentration than the other. That's what I read. So.
Well, what Dre said, he said the difference is the ingredients in a niche brand fragrance are natural ingredients rather than
synthetic.
Because it does have normally high level of concentration of alcohol.
Mm-hmm.
You hear what Avio said about? Did you hear what Avio said about your team?
Avio. Oh Lord.
He said both teams are bad. He said they're not even going to Thanksgiving this year. All right.
See, now that's your backup, Eric. You would read his comment over all the others out there. You would read his.
Oh, that's my homie. I'm glad Detroit is representing out here. So sure, we here. That's my homie. Right. So
Natasha asked a question about designers being more synthetic than niche, and does it have more synthetic blends or ingredients in it? But you look past that to talk about the Cowboys in Detroit, And then Dre said the ingredients are natural, and then you went back to talking about both teams are bad, but one is 1-5, and the other one is, But I'm not going to talk about the game.
Well, you asked the question earlier. You asked me to ask my boy Avio about the game, right? And he just now responded to it. So I had to give you his answer. So that's what that was about.
Well, we're like an hour in, and this was a great episode. Every episode we have is great. I really enjoyed getting with the fellas and still shopping and still, and I really enjoy the followers and stuff that we have because they ask interesting questions. And I really appreciate everyone taking time out and tuning in today.
We appreciate you. We appreciate you. What we talking about
like
next
and
week?
Subscribe, and then no, Bernie got to show his stuff first.
Oh shoot!
Oh, snap. Yeah.
It's upstairs.
Oh.
Desire from F by F, FN by FN. I posted it on Clubhouse and Addicts. It's from the house FN by FN. Desire is pineapple, florals, aquatic notes, cedar leaves. It is a wonderful Middle Eastern blend. No oud, but it's a wonderful blend. It's fresh, but it's heavy enough for the fall. It's a scent that I would wear intimate, going out to dinner, parties, work. It's very versatile. It's not just like only a going out scent or only this type of scent. It's very versatile. It's one that you should get your nose on.
How can we find it?
Oh, I go through my rep. My man is out there in Kuwait, man. Mondale, Salman. Yes. He'll just delivery, get there in the week. He'll take care of you. And if you get a chance, get that blooming rose too. That blooming rose is rough, man. My daughter knocked down half that bottle already, man. Good God Almighty, man. I'm gonna have to order me another, put another order in to get it. The Middle Eastern. There's other ways to get it, but the only person I use is Mondale. So that's who I go to.
Like and
All right.
subscribe, right?
No doubt. Like and subscribe, share. Just like Brock said, how you gonna sit here and ask me questions and you don't even like or subscribe to the page? So go ahead and do the like and subscribe. Push it as much as you can. The more you push it, the more they give us opportunities to do other things that we have coming down the pipe to give you more information so you can enjoy the show more. But I just wanted to tell everyone thank you. This is like our 6th or 7th episode. The following is growing, our views are growing, and it really, really, really means a lot. It does. So thanks for tuning in this week, and we'll see you next week. But what we have on tap for next week, G?
Next week, we're going to talk about storing your fragrances. Storing your fragrances, how to store them properly. That doesn't mean keep them in the car under the car seat, 110-degree temperature. We're going to talk about how to store your fragrances. We're going to talk about what to put them, how to keep them contained, how to keep the shelf life on them, and all that kind of stuff that goes along with it. So that's our next week's show. And Bernie, carry us out, man. Hey, bro, I don't know how to turn this thing off, so you got to cut it or whatever you say.
Cut.
Yeah.
Bro, cut.
Yeah.
Good
night, everybody.
God bless.
Is that it?
Yes,
we'll
sir.
see you guys next week. We love you.
Peace.
Bet.
Never good show, bro. Never good show, man.
We